We give a lot, and when the energy is out, we must bring it back. And I think the main thing that I would like for people to have that I have found through this somatic work is the ability to keep going. That they can be in a state of constantly restoring themselves, not going to work, leaving it all on the field, so to speak, and then coming home and crashing, that we can be in a constant state of restoring. And so that our energy is always being recovered.
Welcome to The Cultured Therapist, a podcast for the curious and the bold to come together and discuss topics, interests, and experiences of the mental healthcare field. I'm your host, R.C. Winters, a licensed professional counselor in the state of Louisiana, and I work in the field in private practice. Each episode, I interview a helper from a specific region of the United States that is providing care for others through this work. And we take the time to get to know them and the topics they feel therapists, clients, and the public at large might benefit from hearing more about. With so many topics to choose from, there is bound to be something here for everyone. Today, I introduce you to Sara Sullivan, a licensed professional counselor from the state of Louisiana who works for Hope Healing Joy Counseling Center in private practice. She has her Master's of Science in Counselor Education from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and she has more than a decade of experience in couples counseling as well as individual mental health counseling, having worked with a number of different types of concerns and needs. Sara and I work together, both of us in private practice, and how close? Well, we share a wall together. A good neighbor to have for sure. And in the time I've had the privilege to know her, I have learned so many things from her about being in the healing profession. And I have grown to have the utmost respect for her strength, wisdom, compassion, and overall tenacity. We have worked in tandem before to help multiple clients, and now we are both, with fingers crossed and great excitement, embarking on a journey of creating a somatics-focused, educational, and restorative retreat for mental health professionals. A sort of dream come true for both of us. Although Sara is gracious to call me a co-founder, there is no doubt in my mind that none of this would be possible if it were not for her bravery and determination in this venture. She found the beautiful site where it is located. She has sacrificed time and energy to connect all the dots. She has helped me as I create with her these educational components. And really, it has just been an amazing partnership so far, full of deep conversations, excellent insights, and a sense of real excitement. A little fear for how it's all going to go, but a deliciousness in the risk itself to put on such an event. I can't wait to see where it goes and where this adventure together brings us and those that join us. Normally at this point, you've gotten a lot of information from me about the guest, but Sara did something different and I'm glad to go with it. She wrote her introduction and did such a great job to explain her life that I decided to keep this short. She explains her different experiences, including where her love of healing arts arrived from, and she details her interest in somatic healing therapies, her own personal journey with it, and why this retreat is so close to her heart. I can't wait for you to hear today's guest. One, because I think she is the bee's knees, and two, because I can't wait to spread more information about this amazing opportunity I have the joy and honor to be a part of. Let's jump in.
Well, in the last few years, I've had a shift in my practice. Started personally, and then came into my counseling practice into more of a somatic tone, a somatic awareness for myself first, and then realizing, oh, this is a whole piece I'm missing in my therapy. with my clients. Not that I don't see that, but that I wasn't aware of how to work with it. And so I've kind of taken this deep dive into somatic work, and now I'm providing sound baths and really kind of a whole healing space once a month. For I do one for mental health professionals, I do another one for that's open to the public, where we just really get reconnected with our body. We use some breath work, some movement, or like restorative yoga poses, and then a sound bath to bring our nervous system all the way down. So to come from whatever arousal state we're in the sympathetic, down to the parasympathetic, down to the grounded self. And it just really aids in the healing process, so that we're not just talking about the things that we need healing from, and not just changing how we respond to our world, but also how we respond to ourselves and how our body is responding to our world, because that's so much of it. And so I've become very connected with that, and then wanting to share it. And then recently moving into a retreat for mental health professionals, where we're going to really bring that into that space. They can experience it, they can learn about it, they can take it back to their practice. And I'm just so excited about this new place that I'm in.
I know that you prepared a statement. Would you like to now take a second and get into that space?
Yeah, yeah, it started as I'm just going to jot a few things down for the interview, and it turned into the scaffolding of my life. So, yeah, so I grew up in the church, very connected with God, strong connection to spirit. I was feeling in the church, feeling the people, feeling the relationships. I felt like I could see. I remember in school, even from very young, being able to see relationships happening, and, just always observing what was going on between people. And so that has been present my whole life. Also, I started playing violin at 5 years old. And so I also have a lifelong connection with music, with movement. I was a dancer, and nature. Nature was my therapy as a child. I'll get into that in a second. I used to perform in my grandparents' cornfields and in the cattle barns. The
Nice.
feeding platform was my stage.
Yeah, awesome.
And yeah. So, yeah, very, very much connected with what was going on around me. And then from about 3rd grade to 5th grade, I was actually molested by our pastor's son during prayer meetings. And that started a different understanding of relationships, and walked me into some really unhealthy relating in high school and in college. The relationships that I chose, or I should say the relationships that my trauma chose. Throughout that time, like I said, nature was my therapy. I have a certain place that I go back to in my mind when I'm leading the meditations during the sound baths that I do. There's a certain place in the forest where there's this huge oak tree, and there's a meadow, and there's water, and that was my place. I would ride my bike, which was okay in the '80s. Nobody worried about us riding our bike for miles
Right.
all by ourselves. I would go to this place and just sit and just soak it in and let that heal me. That was my space. And if it was raining, even better. So there was a connection there as well. In college, I finally got therapy. I got to a place where I was suicidal due to a relationship. And my roommate said, "That's it, you're going to therapy." And I'm thankful for that. I did get some counseling there and realized all of these connections, how I had gotten to where I was, because I wasn't really connected with my old story at that point, but I reconnected with that old story. In college, I majored in music performance with voice and violin and elementary education. I had an interest in psychology, but I didn't think that I was smart enough to do that. Also, part of my stuff at that time that I didn't know that I had. But by the time I graduated, I knew that elementary education was not where I was gonna land, and so I kinda ended up in a bunch of allied fields, mostly working with children, whether that was in ministry or whether that was with the YMCA. I worked summer camps, all the things. My husband and I met after college. I had reconnected with the church my senior year of college and ended up on a mission trip, and he was there from another school. We eventually married and entered ministry together. That was a tough one for me when he said that he wanted to be in ministry. Because of my history, I was like, "Whew, no." But I felt that I had that to give, and I felt connected with what God could do through me and through us in ministry with our backgrounds, and so I did it. So we were in ministry for years throughout the course of our relationship, and we'll be married. It'll be 28 years this November. We have moved 11 times, lived in 6 states. Our first child was stillborn. Then with my first living child, I had vasoprevia. We didn't know that, but we both almost died in the birthing process. They told me that if I had gone into labor at home, we both would have died on the way to the hospital. So that was pretty intense. Since then, we have another child. We have 2 adult children now, and we experienced over the course of our marriage multiple health crises and relationship crises, and we also welcomed over 20 foster children in and out of our home during the course of our marriage. So there was a lot of learning there, a lot of learning about relationships, a lot of learning about attachment, a lot of learning about behavioral parenting, behavioral issues, and how to parent them. I actually discovered my love for counseling while I was working a social work position in Texas. And the one part of it that I loved was where I went and met with the families. The rest of the time, I was like, paperwork, but I loved meeting with the families and asking, "What do you need, and how can I help you get what you need, and what's going on in your life? How can I help you get somewhere in your life?" And a lot of times that revolved around relationships. So after that experience, that's when we moved here in 2009, and I went to UL to get my master's in counseling. And I felt like I was finally doing what all of this had been leading up to. Because of all of the trauma, because of all of the things that we experienced throughout our marriage, and all of the things that I had experienced relationally prior to the marriage, I have a strong focus on relationships, not just couples. I do love to work with couples, but also individuals who are dealing with relational issues, relationships with coworkers, relationships with friends, relationships with their parents or their adult children, as well as their close relationships. I do a lot of work with infidelity, healing attachment wounds, grief as well, and blended families. So I've been doing that work since I received my master's. Then perimenopause came along and a stroke, which made me feel like I was at war with my body again. This was another time of feeling like my body was working against me. I spent about 6 years fighting and thought that I could just push through it. And then when I was facing 50, I thought, I can't just push my body through this. This isn't going to lead to a long life. I'm going to push myself into an early grave. And I had to do something different. I wanted to have peace with myself because I felt like I have a lot to do. There's so much more to do. And I didn't want that being cut short. So I decided to deal with my body. It's funny because as I wrote this, the second page is where the healing starts. I think it's funny that I literally turn a page and there's the healing.
Yeah. Weird whenever we are subconsciously almost creating that sort of symbol, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I started attending sound baths. That's how it all got started. And in those sound baths, that was at the Salt Cave here in town, I started to reconnect with my spirit and my spirit to my loving God. And I really felt a healing of my religious wounds and just kind of a bringing back to my original spiritual self that had been kind of beat up by all of the things that we'd experienced over the course of my life and then ministry. After that, I started some yoga. I needed to regain bilateral strength and coordination from the stroke. I was very weak on my left side. And so doing the yoga really helped with that. But then through the yoga, I also found restorative yoga and yin yoga, where suddenly my body was saying, hey, I've got more in here that needs to be healed. I hadn't thought about my sexual trauma or my birthing trauma in years at that point. That wasn't first on my mind, but it was still in my body. And that was when I realized that the work that we do in our brain, in our mind is not enough. That we also have to allow our body to process what it experienced. So I did some private yoga with my favorite yoga practitioner here in town, and I was able to really explore that trauma, and she was able to walk me through it, and I was able to grieve it, but also come back to my child self before all of the wounds, and that was beautiful. So after receiving these somatic therapies and experiencing the full shift in my energy, my mood, my physical wellness, my spirit, I wanted to bring this to my clients. So I brought that to Misty. We talked about that and we started creating these events where clients could come to the office and experience more structured breath work.
Now, for those listeners who don't know, who's Misty in this?
So Misty is the owner of Hope Healing Joy Counseling, where I've been practicing for a very long time. And so we started with breath work events and then moved into sound bath as well and the yin and the restorative yoga. And we've kind of that has all morphed to a 3-hour event that I hold with Christine and Alex, who are practitioners that I have brought in. We start with some breath work and some movement just to kind of get back in our bodies, to get present in the moment. I have one for mental health professionals and then a separate event for anyone open to the public where we come in, we start with some gentle movement and some breath work just to really come into our body. And then we go into these yin and restorative yoga positions, and basically it's just resting. It's there's a little stretch involved. This is not exercise. It's just stretching for different parts where we really hold our tension, we hold our grief, we hold our trauma, and it allows that to be moved through. And Miss Christine Borderline, she is a yoga teacher as well as massage therapist. And so she, during that portion of the yin and restorative, she'll come around and do some gentle assist, some light massaging to help us really move that energy out, which is fantastic, which you can opt out of course. And then Alex Walker does the sound bath portion and the breath work. And so she, during the sound bath, we've got singing bowls, we have a wave drum, rain stick, lots of things. I also play violin during that part. And I walk people through a meditation first, and we really get into wherever we need to go in our spirit, basically. And then it's just full sound bath there at the end. So by the end, our nervous system is regulated, our body is calmed, and we don't feel all of the pain that we walked in with, which is wonderful.
I heard earlier you mention our retreat option that we're providing for mental health professionals, and I wanted to pick your brain about what sort of expectations you have for how you think this will go and what sort of things you hope to see. I see other people doing it in other states
Mhm.
and around this state. It isn't as prolific as you would expect. It seems not rare. I'm finding when I look around, I don't see a lot of options like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So the somatic conversation has been around for a long time, right?
Right.
Uh yeah. So I kind of think about it from one direction as like this is the retreat I want to go to, but can't always afford to head out to California or Costa Rica or wherever to get that experience. So I wanted to provide that here locally, but from my heart, where it comes out of is again like experiencing for myself the healing, but also once healed, the amount of energy that is liberated, like what I'm capable of doing now, my work is my ministry. My work is my heart, but you can't give out of an empty bucket.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it it's like my work is no longer work, if that makes sense. And that's what I want for everyone else. I just feel like, we are giving, 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 and sometimes we're pushing ourselves to give, give, give when our body is saying, I can't do anymore, or our brain is saying, I can't do anymore. And we're pushing. And how beautiful when we are able to get the healing that we need, that we're able to have the skills to manage what we're feeling, even if it's in the very moment with a client, something gets triggered or we have a feeling and we need to bring ourselves back to ourselves.
There's an honoring in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to bring this for other therapists. At first I was thinking, I don't know if we're going to do CEUs. I kind of just want to have it be something that we just get to experience. But then we later decided we're going to do CEUs. We're going to throw that in there too. So there will be a learning element, but my main goal is the experience, is the really coming to a different place in yourself by the end of that retreat weekend, and then also having the skills and having that learning that they can take with them to take back to their practice and to their life. And I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something that is going to grow and repeat, and that we're gonna continue to really spread this healing and peace that's possible beyond just what we can talk about it.
Yeah, that experiential component is what makes it special because
Mhm.
normally when we go to these conferences, our
Yeah,
continuing education units, they're so devoid from us receiving what we are then therefore supposed to bring out and give. Now that I know how to receive it, okay, well then when I'm working with someone else, I have a deeper understanding of this thing we're doing.
yeah, yeah, and to harken back to my education background, we are majority experiential learners. Like, we will learn by doing, and of course, we know about muscle memory and all of that as well. We will learn by doing much faster and much deeper than we will learn just by looking at a PowerPoint. So my journey started really outside of therapy. My journey of healing started with nature and with sound and with breath work and with body work. That's where my healing I guess I shouldn't say started. I should say that's where my healing maybe came to more of a complete place and where I felt truly restored, not just, yeah, I've worked through those things, which I had and had been in a good position with, but my body was still holding it, and that was heading me into these medical issues, and I really needed to listen. So, because I think the how we came about this retreat idea came from a different place. It didn't come from a let's provide CEUs and hey, while we're at it, why don't we throw in some nature and why don't we throw in some music? Instead, it started in the other direction where it was, I really want other therapists to be able to fully heal whatever they need to fully heal. And I want them to be able to experience all of these somatic options because then maybe out of their experience, they will bring that. And then also, we do need to talk about the science, talk about what's behind it. Why is this happening this way in our bodies? Where is this stored? Because that knowledge is also very important. But yeah, the whole idea started as let's have this experience.
Yeah, and I'm very privileged and honored myself to be a part of it now and helping with the continuing education
Mhm.
units and setting it up with you and
Yeah.
trying to work with even the LCSW board and see if we can do anything there. And it's
Yeah.
become this really sort of fun adventure for me to try something new personally. And in a way, I'm already reaping benefits from this, just in that professional sense of trying new things. And I encourage
Right.
everyone who is a mental health professional and hears this that we're always encouraging clients to try new things. And here's
Absolutely.
this great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when you think about what it is that this retreat is about, we're at the Wesley Center, which, if anyone's never seen this
Mm.
place, it is a different level of nature getaway, and it's not that far from Alexandria. It's
Mm-mm.
right outside of the city, but it
Yeah,
it really does feel like its own special place.
it really does. It is so welcoming and so peaceful. Multiple bodies of water, a forest you can walk through, and the paths are paved. So even wheelchair accessible to take walks in the woods, which is fantastic. Yeah, just being out there. I keep wanting to go back and making excuses to have to go back and visit before the retreat.
Yeah, I know. I wanna go too. I'm
Yeah,
like, "Just wanna be there
I
on the
know.
like, go fishing or something." Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. The the housing is lodge style, it's kind of like hotel style, and so it's not sleeping in cabins, it's not sleeping in tents, it's legitimate beds, and they have a cook on staff who works with allergies. So I couldn't be happier with like, I already feel connected with the staff there, and I'm just so excited about what we're gonna be able to build there.
Yeah, it's just starting. It's just starting, and
Mhm.
the folks that you do have coming to help are some of the folks that we've had personal relationships with, as well as, some instructional experiences
Yeah.
with, like Christine and Alex, who what will they be offering? Those are kind of the additional offerings,
So
right? It's like extra
yeah.
cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have 10 CEUs available over the course of the 3 days, but people are also welcome to attend what they wanna attend and also choose some of these additional offerings. So, they are at an additional cost, and I'm gonna let them set their price there, but Alex is gonna be offering sound healing and light healing. She works with the chakras and just amazing work. I've also done some private work with her as well. I had a I had a pain in my like, you know, we all know about the pain in the neck, right? And was able to without touching at all, she just kind of walked me through, like, "What are you feeling?" and talk to it. "Why is it there? Let's see if we can move it." And just a very, very similar experience to talk therapy, except we were being very aware of what was going on in the body at that time, and that was a really cool experience as well. So, meeting with Alex privately could be a really cool experience for someone if they want to just really process something out. And then Christine Bordelon is a longtime master massage therapist, but she also has a background in psychology, and so she also understands things from both sides, which is really cool.
I need to get them on the podcast. They'd
Yes.
probably be fun to interview.
I forgot to mention that Alex also works with veterans with PTSD. So she uses her same light therapy and energy therapy with them. and helps them through working through the PTSD on a somatic level, which is really
Mm.
and an energy level. And then Christine will be offering private or group yoga sessions, as well as she can do a private massage session. And she is getting into like helping people speak their voice, which funny enough was part of my process, which landed me starting a retreat. So both of these people have been very instrumental in my movement through releasing what I needed to let go of and then stepping into who I am and what is coming forward for me. So they are very close to my heart. They are both wonderful at what they do. And so they will be there offering private sessions. Christine will also be guiding us in our morning yoga, and that will be yin and restorative. It will not be exercise yoga because not that there's anything wrong with exercise, but that the retreat is really about letting it go. And so those will be beautiful experiences, I have no doubt.
When I think about the restorative or yin yoga, it reminds me of a reference that I don't know if we've talked about before, but it's a book that I read called What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu, who used to work for NPR, but she had a significant complex trauma history that
Mm,
she ultimately details in the book with her family. They're Asian American. They were raised in an environment that was very pressure sensitive and performance based, but she
mhm,
ultimately felt very neglected as a child. And there was a lot of physical and verbal abuse that she
mm.
experienced. And when she did EMDR, that helped. But it was actually when she went do yin yoga or some
Yeah.
sort of, it was a type of yoga where you really slow down and pay attention to the psoas muscles, which
Mhm.
are near the hips and kind
Yes.
of the pelvic floor. And while
Yeah.
she was doing the stretches, she had spontaneous trauma recovery
Yes.
response.
Yes.
And it was in that moment that she realized my body is holding stuff I was
Yeah.
not even aware of.
Yes. That is exactly what happened to me, and yeah, it was in the yin because yin focuses on that area quite a bit, the hips and the psoas. Yeah, and that was I didn't go in thinking, "I'm gonna go in and heal this trauma." I went in thinking, "I'm gonna do this relaxy yoga, and it's gonna be awesome." And and in the process, I was like, "Oh, this is shaking." And now we know that when our body shakes in a position, it's letting go of trauma. It is shaking it out. Someone told me, it might have been Alex, but somebody told me that ambulances have changed how they work after car accidents. They used to kind of strap the person down in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and they now don't. They let the body shake
Mhm.
because they figured out that by keeping the body from movement after the car accident, it was storing the trauma. And so there's this importance to allow it to shake, to release it. And I thought that was really cool.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
uh, Peter Levine, right? That's a lot of his work, I wanna
Mm.
say, is the realization of somatic
Yeah.
survival mechanisms of, in the animal world, and then how the human body has that same need to
Yeah.
release it, but we don't do the shaking sometimes, or we don't do the
Right.
thing in the
Right.
real time.
Right. Yeah. We're going through the world with what we are taught to do, the sitting still, the don't be too loud, don't be upsetting, don't be a disturbance, think about others, not yourself, et cetera, and we hold all of this in and tightly, and then it stays tightly wound. And
Yeah.
so that's where, again, we can have the conversation with ourselves, we can do the therapy about it, we can talk about it, but until we have felt it in our body and we've supported our body in letting it go, it's until we do that that we really have been able to move past it.
Yeah.
There's another layer of healing there. And again, like I said earlier, this is not a new thought. This is not a new thought. It's new to me in the last few years, but it's not a new thought. And I'm just really excited to be a part of it. I'm really excited. Of course, I'm very thankful for my healing and continued healing. It doesn't just stop, right? I'm so thankful for that, but also so excited to share it with my clients and also share it with other therapists. I just feel like I want everybody to be able to feel that release in their body when they actually feel peace. Like how much of our day do we feel at peace? And not that we can completely live in that all the time, that's not realistic, but are we getting there at all? And if we're not getting there, we need to introduce that into our life and say, "Okay, let's have some time of peace. Let's let our cells restore. Let's let our body recover from what we've experienced so that we have the energy to get back in the sympathetic and go do work that we need to do."
I often think that mental health workers in general tend to put themselves last.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that sense of like my self care is important. It can get lost in the shuffle of the everyday. Like we get very used
Mm.
to our sense of like moving from A to B to C, forgetting that all the time there's a management or maintenance that needs to go on for the body,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sometimes we stop embodying, we stop feeling into our bodies. I think as
Mm.
especially if you work with really difficult client presentation things
Sure.
and even if you're not a mental health worker, maybe you work in retail, there's a lot of times we run into a lot of really negative energy and
Yeah,
people have their own trauma responses that they're putting out into the world, those reactivities,
yeah,
the people
yeah.
yelling at the fast food worker, and
Right.
I think about that.
Yeah. Anyone in a I can't remember what they call it in the working world, but like a people-centered workplace, like in front of customers, and certainly anyone in a helping profession, because we chose a helping profession out of our own empathy for others, our own awareness of others. And so that voice can be so loud from very, very young that seeing and hearing what's happening with other people. We talk about highly sensitive people, we're taking it all in, we're experiencing everybody's pain, and when we come into the profession, we definitely have to find a way not to do that, to not take it on, to not carry it, but to be able to there's this beautiful thing that happens in session when we're kind of co-regulating, like, we're walking our client through regulation, but we're in the presence of their energy, so we're also in that moment keeping ourselves in a good space. We're working through our energetic field and we're staying in our parasympathetic, keeping ourselves calm. And then this there's this movement that happens where they come into our our kind of energy movement, our energy flow. And by us being able to remain regulated while we're bringing them to regulation, it gives them that safe space. And then we're doing it together. It's beautiful when I see that. It doesn't even always require words. And I love being able to bring in breath work and just noticing the body, noticing where they instinctively move. Of course, we're always watching body language, but what is happening with this client? But also, I do in my work with couples, I often have high energy in my office, and being able to keep my energy field pretty clear and steady and but still being able to be present with what they're feeling and what they're walking through and help them talk through that and experience that together. It's something we need to be able to do to protect ourselves to do the work long term, but it's also a gift that we give to clients, that we are able to be there without being exhausted by what is coming at us in that moment, you know? so that they can feel all of what they need to feel, and they know they don't have to protect me. I got me, that kind of thing.
I would like to shift now to talking about sound therapy and the sound
Mhm.
bath experiences that you
Mm.
put on. And I'm starting to enter into this with you a little bit here and there.
Mhm.
And I haven't attended yet. I plan to, but we have all sorts of different sound therapy based instruments that can be put out that you mentioned earlier. And I wanted to ask for those who've never heard of sound therapy or know about sound baths, if you could kind of walk through the rationale for how the
Yeah,
sound, as far as you understand it,
yeah,
helps in a therapeutic way.
yeah. So our body is made of water and electricity. So, essentially. So we have all of these cells in our body doing all of these different things. We have an electrical system that is running the show and sending messages, telling the body what to do. Through sound, we also know that parts of the brain come online. Music also it's about bilateral in that it connects both sides of the brain. So we're using many elements. We're using a musical presentation in that we may have just a song playing, and so that may have a melody, and so that is that is bringing us to one place with the melody, allowing our mind to go someplace, somewhere. But then we also have the singing bowls, which then connect to our chakras, our energy fields in the body. And there's science on both sides of that. We also use other instruments that are an aid in the traveling that we're doing when we are in meditation. So the wave drum can bring those gentle waves to bring us to a different place. And also I like the sense that of rocking in the body with the waves. There's a gentleness there. Rain stick, same idea. There's healing in water for sure. And so it brings our mind and our nervous system to that. And then I also do play the violin along with some of the melodic structures. So that adds another resonance, another stringed resonance.
So before we go and head out, I would like to ask you if there's anything else about the retreat that you feel needs to be expressed or brought to the forefront for those who would be interested in our mental health care.
I just would love for them to come and take some really deep breaths and just be present and enjoy time with their coworkers, enjoy time with friends that also might be in the field to really just take some time for themselves because that is not something that we do enough of. And I think through all of the interactions, through all of the experiences, and through all of the presentations, there will be a greater understanding of things if they're new to it. If they're not new to it, there might not be anything particularly new that they learn, but because this is with this being our first one out, we're covering all of the bases, right? The basic tenets of somatic work. But I would welcome even those who have been in it for any season to come and take this opportunity to really just be with themselves and allow them to restore, you know? We give a lot, and when the energy is out, we must bring it back. And I think the main thing that I would like for people to have that I have found through this somatic work is the ability to keep going. That they can be in a state of constantly restoring themselves, not going to work, leaving it all on the field, so to speak, and then coming home and crashing that we can be in a constant state of restoring, and so that our energy is always being recovered. It's not I empty myself up and or I empty myself out and then I fill myself up, but instead that it's like a cycle. I'm just continually out and in, just like breath, that we can walk in that in our helping profession and not have to feel depleted.
Where can those who are interested in the retreat find the ticket purchasing options?
So we have right now we have a Facebook page, Restoration Retreats LA, and we can also find it through Hope Healing Joy Counseling Center. It is on the Hope Healing Joy website as well as the Facebook. And then we are about to get our website out there as well for the retreats. That'll be restorationretreatsla.com.
And then is there something about lodging or anything
Um,
that you would like to express about lodging? Because I know you talked about the rooms. I know we have
yeah.
different tiers and different things that we're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. So they have some different options. They have rooms that have 2 queen beds, and then they are 2 doubles. And then they have rooms that have a double and then 2 single beds. And so there is an option for 3 people to be in 3 separate beds or 2 people to be in 2 beds. But also we have a price for if someone wants the whole room to themselves. What's cool is they have each room has a patio or a balcony. There's 2 floors. So they either have a patio or balcony, and one side of the buildings overlook the pond, which is a beautiful view. So everybody needs to bring a lawn chair.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
pretty out there.
Yeah, get ready to just sit and soak in it.
Hang out with the ducks.
Yeah, like I
There's a
said, like, literally, you could just go for the weekend and just breathe, and that would be okay.
Yeah. If you
That
don't
would
go
be
to a single, yeah, like, CE event, you'll still come back completely
yeah,
restored and
yeah.
chill.
We'll
Yeah.
say hi at lunch, it's fine. We'll all really enjoy it.
Right.
So
That's
so
right.
the way that I'm doing it right now is I'm filling those rooms with a view at the first come, first serve basis. So the first people who pick up their tickets will receive that view until I no longer have that view available. And yeah, and so there like I said, there are different prices, whether you have 3 people in the room, 2 people in the room, or 1 person in the room, because of how that all works out cost-wise. But it does include in the full price includes the room, it includes your food the whole weekend, including a lunch that you can either picnic on the property or you can take to go on Sunday. It includes some stargazing and some s'mores and all the CEUs. The only thing that it does not include, if a group would like to do a low ropes challenge course together for some team building, that is an added cost, and that would be they have to have 20 people or more for that. But if anyone's interested, they can let us know and we can see if we could get people together to do that. The other additional cost would be, like I said earlier, for the massage or the energy work or sound, all of those one on one options. Those would be an additional cost. But everything else is wrapped in it.
So I know there's a sound bath that's
Oh,
included.
yes. 2 morning yoga sessions are included in the price, and also 1 sound bath on Saturday night is also included in the price. Yeah.
Well, Sarah, if people wanna get in contact with you, how best
Mhm.
can they do that?
So they can contact me through Facebook or Messenger. I have the retreat Facebook page as well as my own professional Facebook page, Sara Sullivan MSLPC. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me there.
Okay. Thank you so much for explaining the retreat, but more importantly, thank you so much for sharing your personal
Well,
journey, not just to this retreat, but for yourself and your healing and
mm,
how that impacts others. I think sometimes I take for granted that I get to work with the most amazing people, and I do want to put that out to you. I think of you as amazing. And
Oh,
so, and I don't just think that because you like work your butt off. I think that because there's something about your energy that others receive so much from and get to heal by being around. So you being that resounding frequency out there that sort of provides that for people. I just wanted to congratulate you on even making it to that, because to me that's amazing.
thank you, Ryan. I couldn't be happier to be at this place, and I'm glad that I still have the rest of my life to be in this place.
The Cultured Therapist is created, voiced, and edited by R.C. Winters, a licensed professional counselor in the state of Louisiana. It is meant as a tool both in an educational as well as advertising capacity for therapists and those in the mental health field to let future clients, current clients, others in the field, and the general public onto their experiences and interests. If you would like to have a conversation with me such as this, where you clue in others as to what you're all about, you can reach me via email at theculturedtherapistpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, if you have questions or comments, that's a great way to reach me as well. If you thought today's topic, the interviewee, or our format is worth recognition, please follow our podcast, leave a like or a review, and or please share it with any family, friend, colleague, or otherwise that you feel might get something out of this podcast. Your help in those ways is most appreciated. Until next time, may you continue to grow, may you continue to thrive, and may you continue to aspire. From the Cultured Therapist, I am R.C. Winters. Catch you next time.